Some games are an experience from beginning to end, but the ones that really grab me don't come along too often. Shenmue was one of those games that immediately grabbed me the first time I saw anything about it, sometime in the very early 2000s. But it wasn't the first Shenmue game I ever played. Actually, that would be its sequel, Shenmue 2. That was released here in America on the original Xbox in 2002. Fortunately, back then, the second game was released with a DVD of footage of the first one, so it could catch you up on the story. Our family ended up losing the damn thing rather quickly, so my memories of the first game are always pretty fuzzy. Eventually, I did get to play Shenmue on the original hardware, with the loading times and everything. It was really cool to see how the story really started, from the real game itself. So anyways, today I want to look a little more into Shenmue from 1999.
For this destiny predetermined since ancient times, a pitch-black night unfolds with the morning star as its only light. And thus the saga begins.
It's late November of 1986 in Yokosuka, Japan. Ryo Hazuki has just returned home to find his father in the middle of being roughed up by the mysterious Lan Di, who's in search of something called the Dragon Mirror. Before Ryo's father is murdered, he reluctantly gives the location of the mirror, it being hidden underneath the cherry tree in the Hazuki garden. With the info he came for, and with Ryo watching on, Lan Di murders Ryo's father and leaves in a black car. Quite a beginning, right? The story picks up a few days later, with Ryo beginning his long quest for vengeance, and to avenge the death of his father. It's a quest that'll take him all across his neighborhood, city, and eventually all the way to China. And it really begins with the first steps you take out of the Hazuki house. To say this game has a great story would be a total understatement, at least in my opinion. As you go through it, the story twists and turns in ways you wouldn't expect, and the first time through it, it was fun to see what would happen next as I got further and further along.
What the?
Moving away from the story, Shenmue is also a real champion of atmosphere and ambience. When the game requires you to wait for a certain amount of time to continue the story, it's really something else sometimes to walk around the different areas of the game, just listening to the sounds of people walking around, the motorbikes passing you, and the cheery song that plays whenever you pass or go into the convenience store. It's also really nice to see the changes in the environment as time passes in the game, like snow or rain falling. Really, the atmosphere gets cranked up to 11 once it starts snowing. Something that enhances the atmosphere in Shenmue is the music. The songs that play during cutscenes can go from sweet little songs that play, or they're creeping and crawling like Twin Peaks sounding songs when you're in the bad part of town. In the store you can actually purchase cassettes, and if you picked up the cassette player from Ryo's room, you can actually listen to them while you stand around killing time. And I'll be damned if they actually aren't some real fun listening and killing time too. But how is Shenmue to play, as a game? Well, first off, moving Ryo leaves a little bit to be desired. It's not bad to control him in the open world, it's just kinda clunky, especially around tight corners and going up multiple flights of stairs at once. You can hold down a button to get his POV when things get a little awkward or tight, and he can grab stuff with his hand, a major selling point for the game way back when, being able to manipulate things in the environment, whether it was an orange from a bowl or a soda from a vending machine.
Here. Thanks a lot.
You've made my day.
When it switches to the fighting aspect of the game, however, it's a different story. Then the controls switch to how they'd be basically in a Virtua Fighting game, complete with button combos. I don't play Shenmue for the fighting, so I've never been the biggest fan. Never hated it, it's just not what I play Shenmue for. But overall, it doesn't detract. I think it spices things up. Most of what you'll be doing anyways is running around and talking to people, and I do mean a lot of people. It's totally more of a detective type game with some fighting elements thrown in for story and for fun. I mentioned earlier about having to wait around for time to pass so the story could continue. Well, when you're not taken in the atmosphere, you can go spend some of Rio's allowance at the local arcade, and that's just cool. You can also throw some darts for the high score, and I'll admit I've spent some real time at those dart boards just trying to get the high score, and then trying to beat the one I just set. You can even win a video game to bring home at the local convenience store through their in-store raffle. Rio will pull out the Sega Saturn and everything. While you're playing, you'll notice sometimes a button or direction will flash on the screen. It being 2021, these QuickTime events may seem annoying or a relic of a generation gone by, but I never hated these. Sometimes I kinda like to see what would happen just if I failed. They're never too difficult, and the worst thing about them in my opinion is that they just catch you off guard sometimes. If you played Resident Evil 4 or 5 for example, this shouldn't be new to you at all.
I'm sorry.
You don't mess with me again. Got it?
All right.
I've talked about controlling Rio and a little bit about what happens to him, but I gotta get it out of the way and say that the English dub of his voice is legendary. He's such a blank slate verbally that serious moments in this game will be ruined by his actual oak tree performance.
Nozomi.
Rio, have things settled down for you any?
Yeah.
If there's anything I can do, be sure to let me know.
Yeah. Did you happen to see a black car that day?
A black car?
Yeah, it wasn't the kind of car usually seen around here.
You know, a car like that splashed mud on me when it sped past.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you see who was in the car?
No, I didn't. It was too fast. But I heard a rumor that Tom had an argument with the people in the car.
Do you mean Tom at the hot dog truck?
Yeah. Why are you asking about that car?
No reason. See you later.
Rio,
Hmm?
cheer up, will ya?
Yeah. See you.
And you know what? I love it. Yeah, I love the way his voice sounds. I've never played this game subbed with Japanese voices, and I don't plan on it. As bad and as stilted as his voice is, to me, that's what Rio sounds like. When I played the second game on the Xbox all those years ago, it was with the English voices too, and I never looked back.
It's with the guys driving the black car.
No, I don't remember.
They might have been the ones who murdered my father.
Your father?
Please try to think.
Right, man. I'll try.
Character-wise though, he's shown to be pretty caring, especially for his family, friends, and neighbors. He's got honor and integrity, vowing to avenge his father, and actually keeps to that goal. He's not the most street smart, but then again he's only in high school, and he seems to be a more upstanding member of his society. So from that view I understand why he'd be kinda thick on the street smarts. So overall, this little big game from 1999 and the series it spawned has had a major impact in my life. Shenmue's always been one of my favorite game series, and I love that the first two games were finally remastered a few years ago. That was a dream come true. It's not a perfect game, but what it set out to achieve with this hardware is noteworthy, and the sequel it spawned would be even grander, and some say even better. For the first game, however, it's a really impressive attempt at an open world with a whole hell of a lot of moving parts and little details that would no doubt go on to influence many titles to come. In my opinion, it has one of the very best narratives in video games, and it's one I go back to a few times a year. Check it out.